Everybody like and subscribe, praise the bell icon. Story number 1.
It was the final game of the state championship. Cold November wind whipped through the bleachers as hundreds of fans packed into the stadium to watch the most anticipated high school football game in decades. The two teams, Red Hill High and Briar Ridge Academy, had a long, bitter rivalry, and this game would finally determine the undisputed champion. But what no one knew was that this night wouldn't be remembered for the game. Red Hill's star quarterback, Jordan Mays, was a legend in the making. Fast, agile, and with a cannon for an arm. Scouts from major colleges were already calling his house. Everyone said nothing could stop him. But in the days leading up to the championship, he started acting strange. His teammates noticed he seemed off. He'd zone out during practice, eyes fixed on the tree line at the edge of the field. Sometimes he'd mutter things under his breath. One night during warm-ups, a teammate found him kneeling in the end zone, whispering something over and over. "They watch from the dark, they feed when we bleed." The coaches chalked it up to nerves, maybe pressure getting to him. But Jordan swore something was out there, lurking just beyond the stadium lights. Game night arrived. Red Hill wore their crimson jerseys, Briar Ridge in navy. The energy was electric. The announcer's voice boomed through the loudspeakers. The crowd roared. But just before kickoff, the stadium lights flickered, just for a second. Enough to make people shift uncomfortably. A glitch, they thought. Nothing more. The game began, intense and brutal. Every hit echoed through the stands, but something was wrong. A Briar Ridge linebacker went down hard in the second quarter, head slammed into the turf. He didn't get up. Paramedics rushed out, but by the time they reached him, he was gasping for breath, eyes rolled back, blood trickling from his ears. They said it was a seizure. But a photo taken seconds before the hit showed something strange in the background. A shadowy figure crouched just beyond the sideline. It wasn't a coach. It wasn't a ref. No one could explain it. Third quarter, another injury. Red Hill's wide receiver broke his leg clean in two after tripping on absolutely nothing. Replay footage showed him running untouched, then something tugged his leg mid-stride. Hard, like an invisible snare. The crowd started to feel it. A heaviness, a pressure like something sitting on your chest. People began leaving early. Kids cried. Some fans whispered about a coldness creeping up from the field. But still, the game continued. Then came the final play. Jordan took the snap. Down by 3, 10 seconds left. He dodged 1, 2 defenders, sprinting for the end zone. Then he froze. Everyone watched, confused, as he dropped the ball mid-run, turned his head to the woods beyond the field, and screamed. A bone-deep, primal scream that cut through the roar of the crowd. And then he ran, not toward the end zone, but toward the tree line. He vanished into the darkness. Chaos erupted. His teammates chased after him. Coaches yelled for security. The game was abandoned. They searched those woods for hours, days. Dogs, drones, thermal imaging. Nothing. No sign of Jordan Mays, except for his helmet found hanging from a branch deep in the forest. The inside was covered in long, deep scratches from the inside. The school canceled the rest of the season. They tore down the field the following year. It's just a flat stretch of grass now. Locals say nothing grows right there. People hear whistles at night. Some even see lights flickering near the trees. Every now and then, a kid goes missing from nearby neighborhoods. They say the game never really ended. And Jordan never stopped running.
Story number 2.
In the fall of 2012, the small town of Wilmar, Nebraska, was buzzing about their high school football team. The Wilmar Wildcats were undefeated for the first time in decades. Every Friday night, the whole town flooded into the aging bleachers of Holloway Field, cheering with a kind of feverish, almost desperate devotion. For a town as small and forgotten as Wilmar, the team wasn't just a pastime. It was the only thing keeping them together. There was one player everyone talked about, Jacob Maris, the team's wide receiver. He was fast, eerily fast, like he could see the play unfold before it happened. The way he moved on the field didn't even look real, more like a glitch, like time sped up just for him. He'd catch impossible passes, twist around defenders like smoke. Scouts were starting to show up. College scholarships were all but guaranteed. Jacob never celebrated, though. He never smiled. After each game, he walked off the field like he was sleepwalking, silent and distant, even when people swarmed him. Rumors started to spread. Players whispered that Jacob never practiced. He'd just show up before a game, already dressed, standing in the locker room corner with his helmet on. One lineman swore he saw Jacob just standing at the 50-yard line late at night, long after everyone had left, unmoving in the dark. At first, everyone brushed it off as nerves, superstition, typical athlete myth-making, until the accident started. First, it was the opposing team's quarterback in Week 7. A collision on a scramble, routine stuff, except when he stood up. Blood poured from his eyes and ears, brain hemorrhage. He survived but would never play again. The next week, a linebacker who tackled Jacob broke his femur in 3 places with no real explanation. He just collapsed screaming. His leg twisted the wrong way, and Jacob hadn't even gone down. By Week 9, every team they faced suffered some strange injury. Some were minor, broken fingers, concussions, but others were more disturbing. One kid had a full psychotic break right there on the field, clawing at his own face, shouting that something was crawling in his helmet. Another player collapsed mid-snap and stopped breathing. He was revived on the sidelines, but claimed that during those few minutes, he'd seen a black tunnel filled with teeth waiting for him. The Wildcats kept winning. Coach Patterson was a good man, retired Army, God-fearing, the kind who took care of his boys like a second father. But even he couldn't explain what was happening. After a particularly brutal win, he pulled Jacob into his office. No one knows exactly what was said, but the next day, Coach didn't show up to practice. When they found him, he was hanging in his garage, scrawled notes pinned to the walls. One of them just said, "He's not Jacob anymore." The town was shaken, but the school board insisted the season continue. They were too close to state now. Too much money and pride on the line. They hired an interim coach, and Jacob kept playing. Only now, he didn't even pretend to be human. His eyes looked dull, almost clouded over like a corpse. He moved like something wearing a boy's skin. More players got hurt. Some started refusing to take the field. The bleachers began to thin, but a few diehards still came. Old men with binoculars, families with Jacob's jersey painted across their faces, pretending everything was fine. The final game was at home against Fairview, another undefeated team. People said it was the most violent high school football game in state history. By halftime, 4 players had been stretchered off. Jacob had caught every pass thrown his way, sprinting through defenders like they weren't even there. The broadcasters kept glitching, their mics crackling with static whenever Jacob was on screen. At one point, during a slow-motion replay, the crowd swore they saw something crawl under his skin, a ripple that moved unnaturally, like something inside him was shifting, watching. Then came the final play. Wilmar was down by 2. 4 seconds left on the clock. The quarterback lobbed a Hail Mary. Jacob ran, faster than he'd ever run before, and just before the ball landed, every light in the stadium cut out at once. Total blackout. The crowd erupted into chaos. People screamed, stumbled over the stands. Phones flickered to life, lighting the dark in flashes. In one of those brief illuminations, someone claimed they saw Jacob, his face split down the middle like a paper mask, something dark and spindly crawling out. When the power came back on 10 minutes later, the field was empty. No players, no coaches, no ball, nothing but torn up grass and a helmet at the 50-yard line. The official report blamed a power surge. The game was ruled a no contest. Wilmar High forfeited the championship, and in the weeks that followed, the school quietly shut down the football program. Some players eventually came back, but Jacob Maris was never seen again. His parents refused to speak to the media. Eventually, they left town, but Holloway Field still stands, overgrown and rusted, but untouched. And sometimes, late on fall nights, people swear they see a figure standing alone at midfield, motionless, waiting for the next game, waiting for the lights to come back on.
Story number 3.
In 1998, a semi-professional basketball team called the Eastwood Hawks was preparing for their championship game in a rundown gym on the outskirts of Chicago. The Hawks were an underdog team, filled with gritty players who dreamed of a shot at the big leagues. Among them was Marcus, their star point guard, quick, skilled, but haunted by a tragic past no one dared ask about. The gym was old, with peeling paint and flickering fluorescent lights, but the whole town showed up to watch the Hawks take on their fiercest rivals, the Riverton Ravens. The game started intense, physical, with every basket met by furious cheers or angry jeers. But as the game wore on, strange things began to happen. Marcus started hearing whispers, not from the crowd, but from somewhere else. At first, he thought it was just the noise blending in his head, but the whispers grew louder, clearer. They called his name, over and over, dragging him deeper into his own mind. His teammates noticed him zoning out, his passes going astray. During a crucial fast break, Marcus suddenly stopped mid-run, staring blankly at the ceiling. The ball slipped from his hands and rolled across the court. The opposing team seized the moment and scored an easy basket. Marcus blinked, confused, as if waking from a trance. The coach yelled at him, but Marcus only shook his head. Then the injuries started. The team doctor was baffled. Players twisted ankles, suffered inexplicable bruises, and one by one, the Hawks began to lose their edge. The worst was when Darren, the center, collapsed during practice with no pulse. After frantic CPR, Darren woke up screaming about shadows crawling beneath the floorboards, whispering in a voice that wasn't human. Marcus grew distant. At night, he was found wandering the empty gym, chanting in a voice low and hollow. The whispers had turned into voices, voices telling him to finish the game or be finished. He confessed to a teammate that he had made a deal years ago, to win, at any cost. Something had come for him, something bound to the old gym. On the night of the final game, the gym was packed. The flickering lights made long shadows dance on the cracked walls. The game started normally, but as the clock wound down, Marcus began to change. His eyes darkened, pupils dilated like black holes. His moves became unnatural, too fast, too precise, almost robotic. When he scored the winning basket in the final seconds, the entire gym fell silent except for one thing, a deep, guttural growl rising from under the floor. Suddenly, the wooden floor cracked and splintered beneath Marcus's feet. He vanished into the darkness, swallowed whole by the earth. The crowd panicked and fled, but when they looked back, there was nothing. No Marcus, no broken floor, only the echo of that unearthly growl. The Hawks disbanded shortly after. The gym was boarded up, left to rot. But late at night, neighbors still hear thudding footsteps and whispers beneath the floorboards, calling the name Marcus, inviting anyone brave or foolish enough to listen. No one has played basketball in that gym since.